1 game down, 2 goals scored, 1 game to go. But for now, let's just enjoy the win. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. My name is the Crimson Wolf and welcome back to the Blue review for our Premier League game versus Newcastle. And straight off the bat, was anyone else absolutely bricking it towards the end of that game? Because oh boy, that was a close one. If you're new to the channel around here, allow me to give you a quick overview of the Blue review. Basically, I go through 8 points from the game, Lampard's famous 8 as I like to call it, and I give them a blue, yellow or red card, whether it was a good, mid or bad performance. I think we controlled the game for large portions, but I think we did surrender a little bit to Newcastle in certain areas, and I'm not going to say all of our defending was perfect, but largely I think we were pretty good. Nothing really left to add, so I will jump straight into the cards. And I do unfortunately have 1 red card, and I'm sure you can all imagine who it's for. It's for Robert Sanchez. I didn't want to be right, but so far I'm looking right in that Robert Sanchez is not a sustainable number 1. Today, Sanchez was just largely all over the place, and I specifically say that his distribution was awful, absolutely awful. If he wasn't passing it to an opposing player halfway up the pitch, he was just putting it straight out. We dealt with this last year. We thought he got better at this because he looked like he'd improved. We were seeing less mistakes like this. But now, we're back to the norm. And it wasn't exactly like Sanchez was able to compensate with his goddamn amazing shot stopping, because he had basically nothing to do because Newcastle barely threatened the goal all game. Apart from like the 1 goal they scored and a couple moments here and there, they barely had any shots. So it wasn't like he could pull anything out of the hat there. We have Old Trafford this weekend. If Sanchez cocks up there, done. Done. Absolutely done. We cannot be having Robert Sanchez making mistakes that put us in jeopardy every single game. We need a better goalkeeper. Maybe it's Philip Jorgensen. I really want to find out if it is Philip Jorgensen, but as long as Sanchez keeps playing, we're never going to find out. Maybe it's not Jorgensen. I don't know. But until we see, we're never going to know. So we need to, at least at some point, give Jorgensen a chance to show what he's made of, because he's not proving anything in the Conference League. He has basically no threat because they can't get past our backline, let alone take a shot at him. And anytime they are able to take a shot, it's largely something he has no chance of saving because the defense is screwed up, not him. We'll never really know what he's capable of because we don't face tough enough opposition. Now, admittedly, we're about to face Newcastle in the Cup, and chances are he's playing that game. So maybe that gives us a bit more of an insight. Who the hell knows? Because chances are Newcastle are probably going to play their B team again. So Jorgensen's not being tested, and he's not going to be able to see what he's capable of until we start him in the Premier League, which at this rate is going to be sooner rather than later, because I called it once, and I'm apparently right. If one of them ends up being chosen as the undisputed number 1, it's going to come from one of them screwing up massively. And so far, as I predicted, Sanchez is the one that screwed up. Maybe he goes and fixes it. Maybe we go to Old Trafford, we get a clean sheet, and he has an absolute wonder of a game. Maybe he does. And then maybe he goes and has an absolute perfect season from here on out. I can't see it though. Just disappointed with Sanchez at this point. Like, it's not even like I didn't expect it, because he wasn't great versus Liverpool either. Wasn't great versus Brighton. Other games of the season he's been okay, but it's not been too great so far from Sanchez. Taking a look at our first and only yellow card, it's going to be for the defense. And when I say the defense, I mean the defending generally. Now, there is one specific member of the defense I am going to talk about in a bit. The defense, I think, was actually relatively compact, and I thought we defended quite well, specifically towards the end of the game when Newcastle were pouring on a ton of pressure, obviously trying to seek the equalising goal. So I think we played quite well towards the end of the game with our defense. However, the reason that this is a yellow and not a blue is because there were a couple lapses in judgment. Obviously the goal, which I think is on a fair number of people, to be honest, We probably should have shut it down before it got to that point, before it actually made it to Lewis Hall. Reece possibly could have done a better job of tracking Isak. So could Colwill, to be honest. I'm a bit disappointed with Colwill on that one because he should know he's behind him. Wes unfortunately plays him onside, which is an unfortunate mistake. I'm not going to pin him up too much for that because he is just trying to stop the cross from Lewis Hall. Just an unfortunate catastrophe of events. And then the other one, which I am going to penalise Wes for, is that stupid back pass while he's got Isak right behind him. Because he basically diving headers it, and because of the bounce of the ball, he doesn't get anywhere enough power on it to head it back to Sanchez. That's one thing I will give credit to Sanchez. He put Isak off long enough for Colwill and Caicedo to come and clean up. I will give him that. Those moments, and there were a few others, the defending itself wasn't particularly too brilliant, but we stopped them from getting a decent amount of shots on goal. I don't think they had like any shots on target, or like very few in the second half. So I think we were actually quite solid defensively, but because of those moments, it's a yellow, not a blue. People say the defense is the problem. I don't think the defense itself is the problem. I think the defending as a whole, I think, is a bit of an issue. So that does need to be sorted out a little bit. We do need to get a little bit more solid defensively. We're more than capable of scoring goals. Literally only Man City have outscored us this season, and it's by 1. We're more than capable of scoring. We just need to be able to defend. While I have 100% faith in this backline, we do need to sort it out a little bit more. Wes is not looked amazing this season. I think Levi's looked very good. Wes, I think, probably does need to pick it up a bit. I know he's probably quite cautious because of his injury history, and I think everyone had a heart attack today when he went down with his clutching his knee. But to be fair, he pulled through and he played full 90. So fair play to the man. He just does need to start being, I think, a little bit braver with his defending and stop making these stupid back passes. This is twice now. Thankfully, this one didn't result in a goal. To be fair, the other one didn't. The Bournemouth one when Sanchez saved the penalty, so he was lucky. This time, again, lucky. Just need to fine-tune the defending just a bit. All right, time for the fun stuff. Starting to move into our first blue card. And it's a quick one. It's for Christopher Nkunku. And that was just because I think out of all of our substitutions, he far and away had the biggest impact off the bench. We made, I believe, 4 substitutions. It was him, Marco Correa, Enzo Fernandez, and Mykhailo Mudryk. And I think out of the 4 of them, he definitely had the best impact. And to be fair, he was very unlucky towards the end of that game. There was just, the ref just didn't like him at all. There was just so many problems with that. And I do have to address the penalty incident. For me, it is a penalty, I think. I think it is a penalty. I can kind of understand why it hasn't been given, because to the naked eye, it does look like he's been thrown to the ground. But I'm sorry. Dan Burn holds him back from getting to that ball, which is complete bollocks. Like, it just is. Because Nkunku would have got to that, but Dan Burn's holding him back from getting it. That is a penalty, in my opinion, and I don't understand why they overturned it. That is one of those ones that is usually left up to the ref's discretion. If they don't give it, they don't touch it. If they do give it, then they don't touch it. I don't understand why they overturned it, because they normally wouldn't. So that's a really random one for me. And then the other one, which was just the needless pulling back of the thing of the foul on, I believe, Lloyd Kelly, or Nkunku slightly kicks his ankle. That's just ridiculous. But we could have gone and put this game to bed royally if it wasn't for the rest. But I think Nkunku did just look lively when he came on. He always looked dangerous. He looked like he just pickpocketed that defense like the entire time he was on. Every time they thought they had the ball, Nkunku just showed up and started harassing them and he got it off them. Made it to the box. Unfortunately, didn't get a goal from it. Nkunku just did really well off the bench. Not really much to say because he didn't play that much of the game, but I thought it was worth a mention just how well he did coming off the bench. Moving into our second blue card, and it is for Romeo Lavia. Now, I neglected to talk about Lavia in the Liverpool game because I thought it was more worth talking about Moises Caicedo, because I thought he was man of the match for us, at least in that game, and Lavia didn't play the entire game. Same kind of applies here. However, I think this time Lavia actually had a better performance than Caicedo. It is such a shame that this guy missed an entire year, because oh my god, he's amazing. We paid 50 mil for this guy, and honestly, that's looking like a bargain. He is such a good defensive midfielder. His ability to win the ball back and then immediately just turn and pass it out from the back is impeccable. I'd be remiss to mention that his ability to win the ball back is what led to our second goal. Romeo Lavia obviously getting the assist for Cole Palmer's goal. I feel bad for him and the fact that he missed an entire year, because if he hadn't, imagine where we could be with him. Like, maybe he would have sorted that midfield out when we were having problems. And I think he probably will allow us to be a little bit more stable defensively. So I'm all here for it. And as long as this guy stays fit, we'll all be singing pretty. Third blue card goes to Nicholas Jackson. And this is an argument that needs to be had. Is Nicholas Jackson the best centre forward in the league? And allow me to explain what I mean by that. When I say centre forward, I mean overall number 9 play. I don't mean goal scorer, because everybody and their mother knows who the best goal scorer in the goddamn league is. It's Haaland. Like, let's not even go there. It is Haaland. But I think Jackson's a better centre forward because his hold-up play is better than anybody's. I will pick a fight with anybody over this. Nobody has a better hold-up play in the Premier League than Nicholas Jackson. He was standing in front of Dan Burn and shrugging him off. Dan Burn, for crying out loud. Dan Burn is a 6'6" Goliath, and Nicholas Jackson was able to hold him off of the ball. That's impeccable. Jackson's only about, what, 6'1", 6'2"? Next to Dan Burn, for crying out loud. That's insane. He obviously scored the goal, the opening goal. He kind of couldn't miss, really. He had it served up on a plate for him by Pedro Neto and Cole Palmer. So, not really much you can miss about that. And it's a good finish, like, I'm not going to get it wrong, like, and I think he does quite well to wrong foot Nick Pope with the way he does finish it. That's the thing, people, like, don't like to accept it. Haaland is a good goal scorer, like, I'm not going to deny that. He is a fucking brilliant goal scorer, but I don't think he's necessarily, like, a perfect centre forward. Jackson is a better footballer than Haaland. I don't think that should be a controversial statement. Haaland's a good striker, he's a good goal scorer. I wouldn't exactly say he's a perfect footballer. I don't think he's not able to hold the ball up that well. The only reason he is able to do it at all is because of the fact he's fucking huge. He's 6'5" and built like a mountain. But yeah, I think as centre forwards go, you'd be very hard pressed to find a better one than Jackson right now. You'll find better goal scorers, Haaland obviously, and possibly even players like Watkins, Duran, possibly even Diogo Jota. Players like that you'll probably find. But I think as centre forwards go, there are very few better than Nicholas Jackson right now. Our fourth blue card goes to Pedro Neto. And Neto, I think, was just so good. And I am utterly vindicated for this because I've been saying for so long that Pedro Neto is on his way into the first team. And here we are. Pedro Neto in this game was absolutely superb. Not only is he in the perfect position for that absolute peach of a cross for Cole Palmer, and by the way, Neto is the only player on either team that's getting to that ball. He rides the challenge from both Tino Livramento and Fabian Schär and puts it on a silver platter for Nicholas Jackson to put in the net. I think Neto was just actually so dangerous. He had the better of Tino Livramento 9 times out of 10. He very nearly scored a goal, and he's so unlucky not to score. A header from a cross by Noni Madueke. Really good cross, by the way. And he unfortunately heads it into the post. He will probably start alternating with Sancho depending on which opponent we play, because I think they have different skill sets that benefit different types of games. And I think Neto did benefit this game quite a lot because we needed pace, and he gave us that in spades. Like, genuinely, if we have Jadon Sancho on that side when Cole Palmer plays that ball up, we don't score that goal because Sancho is nowhere near quick enough to chase that ball down. And I don't think he would have rode the challenges to put it on a plate for Jackson. So Neto did absolutely spectacularly today. Time will tell whether it will become permanent. But honestly, if it does, I'm not complaining because Neto is an absolutely fantastic player. Starting to show why we paid so much for him in the summer. Why he's such an excellent player. And I am all here for it. Our penultimate blue card goes to someone who I briefly mentioned earlier, not by name, but someone who I do think really deserves the plaudits for what he did in this game and how he saved us on multiple occasions. Reece James, my captain, my guy, the guy who I have backed since day one and will never stop backing. And Reece saved us in this game multiple times. Obviously, there was the 2 clearances off the line, stopped the goals from going in. I believe one was from Isak. I think the other one might have been Barnes, maybe, or might have been Joe Linton, maybe. Reece just saved us in this game. It was very odd because he was playing left back. And I think the way Maresca's looked at it is that he wanted Reece to play in the back line because he wanted to ease him back into it to make sure he wasn't exerting himself too much. But he saw that Gusto didn't do particularly well at left back, So he basically said, okay, I'll put Gusto at right back, Reece can play left back, and then that also allows Colwill to play in the centre, which is where he does a lot better. And it worked. Reece did actually quite well as a left back, which is very strange to say, as I always say, he's one of the world's best right backs. Gusto did have a good game, to be fair, as well. Much better than the Liverpool game, I have to give him that. Reece was just really good today, and if it wasn't for the performance of a certain man, would have been my man of the match. We just do so much better with Reece, whether that's because he's a leader or he's just an excellent player. Like, we just do so well with Reece. He is just a fantastic player, whether he's left back, right back, wherever the hell we need to play him. He is just fantastic. I don't know whether I see his left back position being permanent or not. With Marc Cucurella doing as well as he is, I don't expect it to be. Eventually, we'll probably end up with Reece being the inverted one and Cucurella playing left centre-back / left back. But for now, this seems to be the way we're going. And now for your main event, the final blue card, my man of the match, your man of the match, all of our man of the match. You know him, you love him, the man, the legend, King Cole Palmer. Do I even need to say anything at this point? Or can we just all accept that this guy is better than anybody in the Premier League? Undisputedly at this point. I don't even care if I'm seeing this through quite literally blue tinted glasses. This guy is just better than anybody. And I'm not having anybody tell me different. There is no one in the Premier League better than Cole Palmer. There might not be anybody in the world right now better than Cole Palmer. He is so good. That pass for that goal for Jackson up to Neto is absolutely unreal. The guy's vision to be able to ping a ball from that deep with barely a glance, by the way. He looks behind him like that and then basically no look passes it straight up to Neto for Neto to run up into the box and square it for Jackson to put it in the net. That's ridiculous. And then he goes and scores a goal and like a minute into the second half, which is ridiculous. The ball's won by Lavia. Palmer gets it, just runs at their defense and just takes a pot shot down to Nick Pope's right, and it goes in. And that was the thing. Pope was looking shaky for a lot of that game, so Palmer just basically looked at it and thought, fuck it, and just shot on sight and it went in. What more do I really need to say? It's Cole Palmer. It's Cole goddamn Palmer. Ice cold Palmer. Like, come on, bro. There's not really anything I can say. Like, you run out of superlatives to define this guy. He's just so good. He's unbelievably good. One thing I do want to mention is I know a lot of people have recently been comparing him to Eden Hazard. I don't think he's Eden Hazard. I think he has the ability to change games in the way Hazard did. Palmer's not styled in like Hazard is, because Hazard was built in the same mold as Messi, really, in that his dribbling was absolutely mental and he was able to absolutely go through defenses like a hot knife through butter. If you ask me, I think Palmer's actually built more in the style of Frank Lampard. I say that, he's now started to play a little bit deeper than he normally was as that number 10. What made Lampard such an incredible player wasn't his athleticism necessarily, it was his intelligence. He was an unbelievably intelligent player. And that's the same for Palmer. Palmer's not necessarily the most athletic player, but he's intelligent beyond belief. His football intelligence is ridiculous. Off the chain. On top of the fact, he has Lampard's goal-scoring ability from the spot and open play for that matter. I think his ability to change games in the same way Hazard was is an accurate representation, but I think his overall style of play is more in the tune of Lampard, and I have no problems with that. We get another Lampard, more power to us. Lampard's our greatest player ever, and if Cole Palmer can get even half of Lampard's career for Chelsea, he's done well. I do think Newcastle overall didn't really threaten us that much. They couldn't get their shots away. The one I think of immediately is when Harvey Barnes gets the ball and he does what he usually does, which is cut inside, cut across the edge of the box, and he tried to line up his shot to rifle in like he normally does, but he just couldn't get a shot away because we just blocked every pathway that he could shoot. And then eventually he ran out of space and Wes took the ball off of him. So they just couldn't really figure us out that well. They figured us out for that one moment when they scored the goal, and I'm not going to really say they figured us out for that moment Wes just did a shit back pass, but they couldn't really get us. I mean, Newcastle are a solid team. I think they've struggled quite recently. Obviously, injuries have not helped them, and there's just been a lot of problems in and out of the club, obviously, with their direction, with all the sporting directors. Right now, they're a solid team, and they showed up to the bridge, and we beat them. And honestly, that's all I care about. So with that being said, that will end this episode of the Blue Review. I hope you all very much enjoyed. Please leave your thoughts down in the comments down below. I would really appreciate that very much. And I have nothing else left to say, so all I will say is that I am the Crimson Wolf, the reddest Chelsea fan on the internet, and you have all, as usual, been amazing. And I will see you all in the next video. Good luck with it.